Welcome back to X-Men Origins Wolverine, so let's take the elevator down.
We're getting pretty close to the end. Just 4
That's
parts
because,
left total.
unfortunately, Jova, the last rush of the game, last beat of the game is very rushed, as you will see.
It is a bit of a shame. I mean, okay, I'd say the best thing about this
Basically,
game is definitely the gameplay.
the major sections of the games will be the African jungle, which is cruised in between sections, that escape from the Alkali facility and
How
the mountains.
long is this elevator? Sorry,
I know, right? This excursion into Bolivar Trask's lab in the Colorado Desert, and then one section entirely dedicated about Gambit, part of the movie. With the last level being, of course, the island, but it's not that long compared to the others.
Holy cow, Trask, you compensating for something?
Wait for it.
Eh? Eh? Hello? Anyone home?
Oh boy.
Logan.
You smell pretty good. For a
We have found Raven, but she's supposed to be dead.
Dead was the best way of staying alive.
And we transition to that, to the segment. Now, once again, we have a young section in the jungle when we're gonna meet Raven and we'll actually learn, who she really is.
I wonder who it could be.
Yes, sir.
And Logan, if you see Raven Darkholm, consider her compromised.
You're so tear-struck when you say that, Striker, don't you?
How is Wolverine supposed to know what she looks like, though, if this is the first he's hearing from her?
Well, basically, they're treating as if she was in the mission with them. So
Huh. I guess
it's a retcon, and
I guess one of the weird things about this retcon is, like, if you want to establish that she's here with them, maybe have her have, been talking since, like, the start of the mission, but no, it's like, it's literally just for these 2 flashback sections that we actually know she exists.
Pretty much since we completed the tower, she had started speaking the intercom before we reached this point.
Well, that's why I say, it's like, well, it feels a bit jarring. It's like, all of a sudden she pops in to go, oh, hi, I was here all along. Like, I mean...
It's kind of like when the Crisis Core 107 shoehorns in Genesis into the Devil Eye accident. He's like, I was totally here, guys, by the way.
It's also kind of jarring if Wolverine supposedly killed this Raven girl, because then that makes him even more of a hypocrite.
Don't worry, the game is going through a particular direction, you will see.
Yeah, probably won't have been Wolverine that killed her, but still, though.
Don't worry, again, believe me, Jova, the payoff will surprise you. I can totally believe that.
This ought to be interesting. But yeah, if I were to categorize what I feel is best and lacking about this game, best thing is definitely the gameplay. What's lacking is the narrative, and I'm gonna say the pacing is sort of in between, the mixing. At times, the pacing can be pretty good.
I mean,
at other times, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, once again, you have to remember the fact that this is based on one of the worst superhero movies of all time. So, I wasn't expecting a Shakespeare writing to begin with.
I think what's sort of a shame is, like, well, if they didn't keep constantly going back to the jungle, we could have had a lot better pacing, just focusing on the events of the movie as a whole. Because don't get me wrong, the jungle is used sometimes to good effect. Like, stuff like this, flashbacking with what happened to Raven.
Puzzles, ideally.
Yeah, that works. But then there are the points where it feels a little pointless. Like, okay, he says he's going to go see Rafe, and then we flash back, and yeah, Rafe speaks up, but we never actually interact with Rafe in said flashback.
We'll see him also, don't worry.
Yeah, I know, it's just like, well, what was the point of that flashback if we weren't even going to fight alongside Rafe to build up to him? It's like, well, I feel like if it was used to,
Yeah, that's another thing. Unless you actually face them in boss battles, the other NPCs don't really help you in battle. It's Wolverine all for himself.
Kind of a shame.
But no, that's just like I mentioned. Honestly, like I said, the fact that they amplified the the jungle mission only makes it for the worse because for gameplay purposes it goes completely in contrast with Wolverine's attitude. His noble idea of wanting to not kill anyone or to try minimizing the casualties. But here he's just so happy-go-lucky, bursting through all these people's thorax.
I love how his super senses automatically tell him, "Hey, dummy,
Yeah, this
set
is
this thing on
important.
fire." Like, I mean, there's super senses, and then there's just God senses. at that
And
point.
again, even if you argue, well, he's like defending and these people are attacking first. Again, the entire mission to begin with from Striker is malicious in intent. These people, for intents and purposes, are the real good guys.
It really does feel like at times this game is, sort of stuck between whether or not it wants to follow the plot of the game or it wants to make its own plot. And not in the way that, like, a Spider-Man movie game does, where, it combines stuff so that it flows together well. No, it's like, well, at times it feels like there's two different narratives fighting against each other for control. There's this one narrative where Wolverine's trying to be the oh-so-noble hero that X-Men Origins Wolverine tries to paint him as, or bits where he's the rough-and-tough Wolverine that we all know and love him to be. And, it doesn't help that this is before he gets mind-wiped. Like, see, it makes sense that he's gruff and tough in the original trilogy because he's had his memory erased and all that. But here, he's supposed to be the charming rebel here, so it's jarring when he all of a sudden switches personalities on the fly like he has multiple personality disorder. Or maybe
Yeah.
it's just mood swings. Wait, what do you think?
Honestly, it's Wolverine doing his Wolverine-y things.
I guess it's I guess for you it's like, well, at least Wolverine actually gets to be like Wolverine in this, unlike the movie.
Yeah, I suppose. No, I mean, I don't mind a Wolverine that does have a I don't mind a Wolverine having like a moral code or anything. It's just it wasn't done well in the movie.
I'll maintain, I think Wolverine was definitely at his best in The Wolverine, the movie. God, it feels awkward to always call movies
I know,
as
right?
their first one.
Sorry, excuse me, coming through.
Pardon me. Excuse me.
I liked it more.
Amazon package
I
here.
liked
please.
him. I liked it more in Logan.
I guess for me, I like him best in The Wolverine because, it's before it gets all depressing. And it's like I said, Logan's a good movie. It's just, man, don't watch that movie if you're in a bad mood. And also, I guess it's like, well, in Logan, he's kind of this worn-out, tired old man. And yeah, that's the point of it. It's just, I always prefer, heroes in the present time, when they're at their prime, and when I feel like they're challenged the most.
Well, and also in hindsight, since the whole Disney spiel went down, I'm holding on to that film for as much as I can, because I don't think Disney will ever make a film like that again.
Well, you never know, Dwibs. They made, basically, you know what? Believe it or not, Dwibs, Disney are the ones who made Pulp Fiction in all its blood and gory thing. You know what they did? It's an ancient Chinese secret. They basically had a different studio within their ranks work on it. A studio that's not often affiliated with them. Boom. Instant way for Disney to release an R-rated...
They could use the Fox label for it, I guess.
Precisely. Like, that's what Disney does. Sure, yeah, for their classic franchises, they'll try and make it so that they're PG-13 at worst, but it's not like they're not willing to push the envelope here and there. Honestly, I'm gonna place my bets. How much you want to bet that when it comes to Deadpool's own solo movies, they'll keep them nice and R-rated under the Fox logo, but when say they want to have him cross over with someone like Spider-Man, they'll have him, of course, tone it down just a bit, and they'll probably have him self-joke about it too.
Yeah, extremely possible.
Honestly,
The Guardians of the Galaxy or something.
Or at worst, they're gonna do like we did for Deadpool 2 and actually have a PG-13 cut of the same movie that is also R-rated. I mean, when you really think about it, with minimal editing, you basically give an excuse to re-release the movie in cinema. But hold on.
Who's
Hold
ever
on,
released?
Oh, Agent Zero is down. But who is that? It's Raven.
oh snap, mutiny.
And we transition back to the Raven here. Hold
A
on.
flashback.
Wait for it. Oh, what's this? Does this remind you of anything,
Oh,
Gleaves?
snap. Yep.
Alright.
Yep, this game is telling that Wolverine knew about Mystique beforehand.
Came here looking for
I have no idea.
Tio, not for nothing, but remember?
Yeah, the memory is in bullet. Again, awkward in hindsight, the Wolverine later on actually regains the memory.
Here's
you
a
see,
better thing to
Professor,
bring-
I actually knew your sister-in-law, you know.
See, here's a better thing to bring up. Why didn't Mystique use this to her advantage when the Brotherhood of Mutants found
Hold
Wolverine
on,
and
wait
Rogue?
for it.
Wanna know?
Hold on, wait for it.
Find a way to open those doors while I see if I can go hack into their mainframe.
All right.
Of
A
course.
shot!
Going after Scream.
I wouldn't have it.
There
any
was
other way.
no real reason to have that.
And yeah, I was gonna say, what has there ever been a film released where different cuts are released in cinemas at the same time?
I don't know if at
think
the same
there has to be at
time.
least one major example. I'm trying to think.
So there you go, folks. Mystique knew Wolverine all that time. So that means that after Mystique betrayed Charles at some point, she then met with Wolverine. So she knew the two biggest heads of the
Not
Xavier
just that, she
School.
worked with Stryker on that mission. Okay, she went rogue on her own, but still.
Huh.
Anyway, your objective here, as Raven told you, is that Trask is developing something, a super weapon of sorts. Wonder what that could be. And so she's trying to find the codes. Help her, and she will give you what you need to potentially find the island, because she seemed to also know to be still kept in acquaintance with the rest of the team. But you will see.
You know, for as much as I joke about how silly it is, I'll admit it's better fan service than what X-Men Origins tried to do with just throwing in Cyclops.
Wait,
in the
hold on.
mix.
They forgot to make that console solid.
Guys, I think the console's
Oops.
a fake. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
No, that's the twist. Mysterio and his cronies.
No, that's also the other twist. Wait, Wolverine actually gained Kitty Pryde's powers for some reason.
And then, Bub, just like that, I was phasing in and out of that console. It wrecked my mind already more than it already was.
Seriously, I mean, I love Raven Studios for what they did in Singularity, but man.
This game definitely does feel...
Okay, it's one console
No, I know,
in
Dave.
one tiny
Well,
area.
Okay, believe it, Leaves, the glitches are not over yet. I can tell you
We
that.
don't want
You
to
already
be
lost the invisible Wendigo prototype, but believe me, there's something else coming up.
Oh yeah,
We
that's
don't want
right.
to be like
we-
those people who use just one glitch out of context and say the whole game's like that, you know?
Oh, Dwibs, you missed the glitches in the last part. Those were phenomenal. I mean, okay, this game is good, but it definitely has that Activision...
Well, I mean, I can get it. It's a licensed product. It had to be rushed for release. I can pretty safe bet the complete
Yeah,
beta testing was not a thing.
Besides, quirky bugs aren't inherently an Activision thing, Joe, for everyone does it.
well,
I didn't
yeah,
blame
but-
Activision for it.
Well,
Yeah.
Joe was going to say they're Activision-y stuff.
Oh, actually, I was going to say it's an Activision trademark, but let's not forget it's Activision. At the end, were the ones producing the game, so they called the shots on that. And it is an Activision trademark thing to rush stuff. Like, I mean, every Call of Duty game has pretty much been rushed. Crash
Also,
Team Racing
got a
Nitro
Wolverine
Field.
model just popped in at that
Oh,
moment.
Crash Team Racing Nitro Field got rushed. Insane Trilogy got rushed. Oh, and Spyro the Reignited Trilogy. That is a special case of what
Well,
the
have you
hell
heard
rushing.
about the recent re-release of that game?
Yes, the re-release that you have to check the disc to make sure on. Like,
Well, you don't check. I thought it was the back of the box that you check.
that's the thing. They didn't change the box.
I
cover.
meant like on the back of the box you have to check if it has the year 2019 on the bottom.
I thought it was just
Is
the
that
disc.
important?
Basically, Tier, here's the thing. You know the infamous thing about how most of the game was not on the disc? Well, now they finally are reprinting a version with all the stuff on the disc. Here's the problem. They're not changing the thing on the cover that says an internet download is required, which means in order to find out which version has all the data on the disc. You have to do some detective work here and there. Just to
Well,
make
mind
sure.
you, well, it's kind of, I'm not. Well, I mean, there's one pretty good reason I'm not getting a physical copy. I've already got a digital one.
Yeah, I mean,
Same.
at this point, it's not worth the risk for me. I'll maybe wait and see. I'll wait until they properly, just
Hold on.
change the box art.
Well, mind you, Jay, that's not something Activision will go out of their way to announce. It would be pretty bad for their PR. Hey guys, we have everything on the disc now, we promise.
I mean, that's sort of the thing. They kind of did advertise it as such. That's the reason we even know it's.
No, I
such.
meant backtracking. You know, I mean, sometimes backtracking on stuff can be bad PR.
Don't you think it would be good PR in this sense? Since
Like
this was
saying,
something people.
saying, yeah, no, we fucked up, but we're on this time, we promise.
Don't you think this would be good PR though, since this is something people were asking
No,
for in
because
droves?
because in that case the average answer will be why didn't you do that in the first place, meaning that it will never be enough.
Well, then maybe Activision should have just not rushed it in the first place.
Exactly my point. Thank you, Jova.
Anyway,
That's
those
what I meant.
spin tornado of death.
Yeah, there was actually an audio log that would have been very important, but whatever.
Could you sum it up?
Basically, the other doctor, not Bolivar Trask, Robert Kelly, is already starting out as incredibly racist against mutants, that you may have heard from the other audio log, but he's also expressing concerns about the fact that if you actually had heard about the other Bolivar Trask audio log, Trask didn't start it as, maniacal against mutants, but actually was fairly okay with them, was actually fascinated by them.
Huh.
But he's getting a sort of transformation as the time is going by.
That's kind of ironic, seeing as how in X-Men Days of Future Past, Trask is kind of
started
like
like
that. I
that,
mean, he's not entirely against mutants. He's just about studying them, being fascinated with them and all that. Obviously to something of a maniacal level, but I digress.
Yeah.
Again, if Trask were just played by Peter Dinklage in this game, the continuity would actually work. And
Let
you
me
could
see,
make this-
2009.
Yeah, but I already explained,
Wait, hold on, please. What was Peter Dinklage doing in 2009? Let me check.
I guess.
I think Game of Thrones was starting at the very least.
Game of Thrones, aka insert actor. They come out a mega superstar that every single film wants to get their hands on.
Hold on.
And then almost every single film that stars
Oh.
them in turns out to be bad.
Yeah. The special mention goes to Resident Evil 6, the final chapter.
Anyway,
Egypt.
okay. Anyway, you need to use here the machine for a teleport probe. You need to activate the freezing ray. Basically, the concept is that the door there is protected by a heat signature detector. So the idea is
super
to
fast
have
conveyor belt.
the idea is to have you being frozen to pass through that. However, you need to also regulate the conveyor belt to be in your favor, and you also need to have the teleport spawning you right next to it before the freezing ray stops functioning.
Fascinating.
Anyway, in 2009, Peter Dinklage was in two things. One, Game of Thrones hadn't started until 2011, and
Okay.
he was in a film called St. John of Las Vegas, and he was in an episode of 30 Rock.
Huh.
Never heard of
Oh,
those.
isn't that the same show that you said that Jessica Chastain was in?
No, that's not that's a show from Tina Fey.
Okay, where was instead Jessica Chastain in?
I said Zero Dark 30. That's a film.
It has the 30 number in it. It's the same thing.
30 Rock is a 30 Rock is a comedy about making a weekly TV show. Zero Dark 30 is a film about the assassination of Bin Laden. They're quite different.
Well, black comedy. I guess.
No.
Oh my god. Yes.
But also in 2009, Peter Dinklage was apparently also in a movie called St. John of Las Vegas.
That's what I said.
Thank you, sorry. But in the previous year, he was also in the Chronicles of Narnia Prince Caspian. I forgot about that.
Oh yeah. Yes, the movie that you actually requested to be on.
Basically, like I mentioned, it's the only I know the Narnia series because I actually read the books and I cannot stand them. Thank
Is it
you,
because
announcer.
of the insane chronology, or is
No,
it just
it's
because
because
of the
the
stupid payoff?
absurd pandering to Christianity religion is so annoying on how in your face it is. But I kind of compelled to Priest Caspian because there is an Italian as the main villain. So
Hey,
anyway, hold on.
movie.
For
I
it.
was. Hey,
And there
wait, he
it
was
is, Bolivar
frozen. What
Trask
happened?
himself.
Your entire body? Now, why don't you come down here and find out? All mutants seem to labor under the impression that they're special, better than humans, Homo superior. Bah! I know.
Magneto wasn't a thing yet at this time, though. Well, actually, I guess he was.
Well, no, I guess we should have known with X-Men Origins Magneto, but you know where that went.
Security will be here soon enough. But in the meantime, let me show
So
you.
basically, Bolivar is like, well, okay, since we are too late, let me use you as a guinea pig for one of my prototype.
Oh no, it's.
That looks familiar. Oh shit.
Eek!
Basically, this is a mini boss that is very, very annoying because it keeps spamming attacks. You cannot launch it. It has a variety of ranged and you know close-up moves. So damaging this thing is quite the task.
But it's great for fan service.
Yeah, yeah. Reflect. Believe me, Jova, it gets better on that front.
Wow, again, I
Oh,
mean,
shit.
you know, honestly, if the movie were more like this, it definitely would have been received a lot better.
Sorry, Jova, we need to have Hoover designs for the Sentinels. So
I was
Well,
frozen
I think he's-
today!
Because I'm more about Origins, not Days of Future Past.
I know, Dweebs.
You know what's sad is like,
the Sentinels weren't even in that movie.
it's...
Well, they were okay. Now, to be honest, it was like a quick cameo in the last stand, but it was even irrelevant for
The
that
sad
point.
thing is
so-
that Last Stand had the closest thing to the
yeah,
actual
it
look.
had. It does make you wonder, like, well, no, to be honest, the Sentinels were, technically speaking, in the OG timeline, the Sentinels had not been developed yet. That's what happens in the bad future. So I wonder what was that based off.
I guess it was
You know,
just
yeah, it's
Xavier
like-
running through his roleplay of the end of the world, take 323, Attack of the
Yes,
Killer
please.
To
Robots.
decide what kind of future you're on, do the X-Men touch like those Sonic CD side posts where they go future, past?
At this point, kinda.
Again,
Well,
and
at this point the series is over, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
I,
Again, unless Disney tries to cannibalize it and pretend have one of these timey-wimey shenanigans and pretend they were on continuity along.
Yeah,
Oh,
but how you
God,
gonna
no.
explain? Yeah, but how you gonna explain all the bridges that were?
No.
snapped off
In a
one
sense
movie,
of,
but not
in a
other
sense of,
movies?
hold on. I'll say this after the cutscene.
You're nothing more than an animal that
You're an animal, Wolverine.
What are you waiting for? Shoot me!
Yes, he actually sliced Bolivar Trask's arm.
but how does he have it back in X-Men 3, The Last Stand?
Again, Jover, the games aren't in canon. I mean, the MCU games aren't canon to the MCU, are they?
It still begs the question: additions or not, why don't you at least try to make things, try to stay consistent with what future movies had?
It's again an issue with the X-Men movies. Their continuity sucks, even
Well, these aren't
games-wise.
the movies. These
Well,
But
are
no,
okay.
no, Dave. So what I was saying instead is that we can do it through alternate timelines and alternate dimension shenanigans. Picture this ideal scenario. Okay, let me refer to something before. At this point, an average crossover event of Marvel would potentially involve alternate universe on its own, but that's for the comic books. For that being applied to disc, imagine an ideal cutscene about an event that requires assistance from different, parallel universe and such. And you have, ideally, imagine the shot, this port opening with these one or two characters that need to recruit this character across different dimensions, then pandering slowly to reveal the X the cross X of Wolverine's tomb seen at the end of Logan. That gives you the clue that this character trying to look forward to mutants for that, and ideally would be a good headcanon to how to bring back
honestly,
the actress of X-23.
Honestly, about when it comes to the timeline stuff, I don't really care. It's like what some people think of the Zelda timeline. As long as you enjoy the product that's in front of you, then
Just don't think about it, of course.
Here's part of the problem, Dwibs. See, yes, it's nice that you don't care about it, but Fox clearly did care about it because they bothered to try and make it all a cinematic universe. Like, okay, if you don't want to care about it...
Sony tried to.
Well, that's sort of the thing, is like, well, Fox sort of brought it on
Sony
themselves.
was arguably even worse. They gave up after 2 movies.
I know, right?
Yeah, at least, the only reason Fox stopped is because they got bought by someone else.
But again, here's the issue. Fox brought the whole thing on themselves when they tried to make X-Men into a big cinematic universe when they really didn't need to, but nope.
And even then, remember, with the first class, the Wolverine Days of Future Past, we were still on a good track anyway, so there's no reason to be afraid in that kind of sense.
Yeah, it's like, starting with, X-Men Days of Future Past, that's when the continuity really started to get out of hand. And, well, again, I mean, okay, yeah, there were always slight hiccups between the X-Men movies even before then, but that was back before the concept of, cinematic universes with this long, sprawling continuity were a thing. The problem was that they decided to make it a thing around the time when it became popular, but they kind of missed the memo on needing to have good continuity. Like, okay, here's the thing. When you have bad continuity, and then it just feels like the writers are resorting to cheating to make stuff happen. Like, imagine if Infinity War or Endgame had contradictions to the lore established by that continuity. Then it wouldn't be nearly as good. It's like if all of a sudden you went, oh, actually, Spider-Man was here.
So by the way, I get a trophy for the fact that they toss people off the ledges.
Nice.
I always like doing that and stuff. I like doing that in like.
I mean, it's also practical, Dweebs. It's an insta kill, so why not?
Yeah. Sometimes I do my best to make sure they hit the wall on the other side.
Go on, Drover.
But yeah, it's like, well, imagine if Infinity War Endgame when. Actually, Thanos didn't destroy the stones, or like Thanos had the stones all along, even though it would completely contradict continuity, then that's just outright bad writing, and it's really hard to ignore considering the anticipation, leading up to the sequel. Like, that's another thing with continuity. When you have a sequel, people are going to be anticipating big-time answers to certain questions. And if your answer completely breaks continuity without so much as a good explanation, well, then you've got a lot of disappointed fans. And you do not want to disappoint your fans.
I mean...
the MCU's kind of been running into that a few times.
Yeah,
like the whole Nick Fury thing of the eye.
That too.
Oh, well, okay, that's a bit different. It's like, okay, that's more like a retcon as opposed to outright bad continuity. Don't get me wrong.
You can't keep changing the goalposts, Joe.
Well, Dibs, like I said, I mean, the continuity technically does work. The problem is that it still has lackluster payoff. What I'm talking about is outright contradicting stuff. Like,
it's one thing to say that Nick Fury, what was the cause of Nick Fury's eye to be like that. It's another to say that it was like that from birth instead of actually having a sane eye for a while before having it be cut off by something.
Basically, Dibs, the example you're thinking of is like, if it were bad continuity, it would then be like, Nick Fury actually didn't lose his eye because of trusting someone. I mean, he technically does lose his eye because of trusting someone. The problem we have with it is the actual context behind it.
It's what you yourself said, Wibbs. It's the fact that it's used for relatively cheap comedy instead of being a serious plot.
Yeah, that's always been my problem. Well, you guys know that's always been.
No, don't get me wrong. I agree with you on that particular marker, but I'm just saying it's like, the two issues I'm discussing are different issues here.
But that's the thing. Fox is, remember, the X-Men movies were pretty much done, mind you, not being continuity with what I'm about to say, but done by the same company who thought it was a good idea to make a sequel to the 2003 Daredevil movie, with a sequel that had nothing to do about it and makes things even more confusing, and it's an even worse movie on its own.
Oh god, Elektra.
Seriously, I cannot stand enough for the fact that the Elektra movie is one of the worst things I've ever seen in my life.
Hey,
Yeah, well,
let's make
again,
them. Let's.
it's like I'm not sure if I've said this before actually, but if I allowed continuity to always be on my mind every time I watch like an MCU movie or something, I'll never have any fun.
Well, okay. Here's the thing.
You know what I mean?
Well, continuity is never really on the main mind because the MCU movies do a generally good job maintaining their continuity, so it's not as much an issue. We bring it up a lot with Fox's X-Men movies because it is a recurring issue. One of the biggest examples being the fact that Jean Grey all of a sudden gets the Phoenix Force in Dark Phoenix, even though she clearly had it in Apocalypse. Like,
Well, Jover, I say I still enjoy the movies on their own, but Dark Phoenix is a bit of a bad example, don't you think?
well, Dwibs, it's
Well,
sort of my
okay,
point
even without
still.
bringing a specific in general, because even looking outside oh Jesus Christ, the X-Men movies in general, with that mentality, it's nice on the short run, but if the thing portrays for too long, you then have a situation where even a basic thing like a character that shows up that shouldn't be there may be a problem. Lives, you're a fan of Fast and Furious. They made a pure justification on why they wanted to keep the actor of Han on set, having a set of movies being a prequel instead of being a sequel. Even then, when they actually went back to the actual sequels of the timeline, they didn't ship out and found a way to bring back Han without it because they actually cared about
Well, they
keeping their
changed
story
the
straight.
circumstances of how he.
True, but it didn't magically brought him back to life. You know what I mean?
Spoilers.
Yeah, it's. Well, how long has that movie been out now?
2006 it came out.
13 years, almost 14 waves.
But yeah, again, the
Yeah, no,
point.
but I should still say it anyway in case.
I know.
The point is, like, well, continuity may seem like a nitpick,
Hold
but
on,
it is
we're about
important.
to say the result of Bolivar.
All right.
Let me check out the database.
He's totally gonna get a robotic cannon. That's why he has both of them in X-Men for the last year.
No, he made Optimus Prime.
They build.
Well, you're actually close, Waves.
Terminate mutants.
Oh
Made a
snap!
The first major prototype
Wait,
of a full
Iron Man?
Sentinel.
It's big.
It is big. It would be a
the
real
face
shame if
design-
it actually activated.
It's the face design. Face design for a bit kind of reminded me of the Iron Man mask, but then it got further up.
It even has that triangle thing that resembles the arc reactor. I can give you that.
Oh my God! And this was technically before Iron Man 2 came with the triangular one.
Well, remember, Joe, the triangle thing was a thing pretty much in the Ultimate Armor, which I don't like.
What, the triangle thing, or that it came from the Ultimate Universe?
The Ultimate Armor design. It's so.
Oh, the Ultimate Armor design.
Actually,
It is.
Tony Stark looks. The Iron Man looks like he's fat in that thing.
Yeah, it's a thing you mentioned, guys. While the X-Men series does have continuity problems over the whole series, sometimes the MCU films have problems with continuity in one movie.
You mean when it comes to the Iron Man movies?
I meant like in their own, single
Yeah,
contained.
I guess if you watch Iron Man, then Iron Man 2 directly, and then Iron Man 3 directly.
Well, what I mean is, I mean just the single movies, not like the whole setup. You remember
Oh,
that bit in Iron Man 2?
yeah. I guess in a sense of that they should be standing more on their own instead of just being pieces of a puzzle.
Yes, it's not just that. Also, I mean, remember that bit in Iron Man 2 where
It spends a
you
lot
know.
of time setting things up.
Yeah, and not just that. It was that bit in particular where the guy who was supposed to make sure Stark didn't get out was like, by the way, I'm keeping my eye on you. You're not allowed to leave the house, and then he leaves the house with
Also,
no
yeah.
explanation.
Exactly my point as to why, I mean, yes, continuity may seem like a nitpick, but it's definitely still an
Yes, well,
important
Joe,
thing.
here's the difference, though.
What?
Unlike Iron Man 2, most of the X-Men films are fun to watch.
Well, again, I mean, yeah, fun to watch and all, but I mean, don't be surprised if people are annoyed by continuity errors. Like, and okay, Dwibs, let's pretend that Dark Phoenix was good. I'm sorry, pretending like Jean Grey didn't have the Phoenix Force is a very bad continuity error, no matter how good or bad that movie is.
Well, but we can count our lucky stars that technically that's not the last X-Men movie.
Anyway,
Yes.
in the next part, we actually keep exploring the factory. and hopefully that thing will totally not activate, we swear.
Totally, we're gonna make it out just fine.
Nah, it'll fall apart as soon as he presses the on switch.
Oops.
Alright, see ya.
Ta-ta.